stuff, and I've just spewed out a load of information there on a remix that I probably didn't need to. Have you been thinking about the idea of an animation movie for Artificial Roots? With Black Friday sales coming up, is there anything you're planning on getting? I'm often having writer's block, and it could last from one day to 1 or 2 months. I don't feel like I found my sound and my genre that I'm most comfortable with making, because every time I open up Ableton, I always end up creating something random. It's hopefully not an addiction that's causing you and your loved ones any harm. How should one approach the process of getting feedback on a track? Will you make the Big Sur update on your Mac? Hey guys, welcome to the Kane Audio vlog. It is Friday. It's time for another Ask Me Anything. Usual rules apply. Comment anything you want below this video and I'll get back to you in next week's video. Before I look at last week's video, is there any house admin? I don't even have the house admin screen in front of me, so there can't be any. Oh yeah, no, tell a lie. I have updated the Spotify playlist and closed it. The Spotify playlist, for anyone who doesn't follow, there'll be a link below in this video amongst all the 5302 links. For those that don't currently follow, it is called 5302 Electronica. There is also one called 5302 Archive, which is everything I've ever put on the playlist. Gets updated every couple of weeks, between an hour and a half to 2 hours of music every couple of weeks with a complete refresh. That's about all I can say, really. It's always good music. I can't go into any more detail than that. However, this week we've got new tracks from Atlas, Gidge, Max Cooper, Polynation, Worried About Satan. There's a whole bunch of great stuff in there. Oh, there's 2 tracks from Atlas, in fact. Christian Loeffler. Loads of great tracks, so check it out. And it's free. It's on Spotify. That's basically all I've got to update on this week, I think. We are still in lockdown 2.0 here in the UK. Again, there's really nothing I can say about that. The dog next door is still there and barking right on cue. I think that is it for house admin. I can't think of anything else. I should really, think this through before I hit record on the camera, to be honest, each week. But there we go. You're not paying for these videos, so tough. Right, moving on to last week's video. Starting at the top, Techalite Music. Hey there, Dom. Stock, high five. Is it time for a Kate Bush reply? So here it is. Don't give up, because you have friends. But yes, at the same time, I understand why you're asking yourself if it's worth to carry on with these weekly AMA videos. So for those of you that didn't know, I think I've had a couple of responses along those lines this week, and thank you very much to anyone who has said things along those lines. I don't even remember what I said last week, but it was something suggesting that views have gone down, and they have significantly over this year alone on these videos. They were never massive in the first place, and I was okay with that. But it is now getting to the point where I'm really only getting maybe 1 or 2 questions each week, and it takes an hour and a half to record the video. It takes half hour setup, half hour take down, a couple of hours to edit, a couple of hours to upload. It's basically a day's work, and then thumbnails and all of that crap on top. So I kind of mentioned last week that I may or may not, depending on how things go, do them once a fortnight, maybe once a month, something like that. I've not really given it loads of thought, to be honest, because I do like these AMAs and I do like the questions coming, and I've kind of always said, so long as the questions keep coming in, I'll keep doing them. It's coffee today. I'm filming this on a Thursday and it's only just 3:30 in the afternoon. Feels a bit early for beer. However, I do feel like maybe one evening we can all do like a live stream with a beer or something, but we'll see. In fact, this must be AMA like 131, I think. What am I reading? 130. Yeah, so I'm doing 131. So maybe if we get to 150, we'll do like a live AMA or something. Another thing, so yes, what were you saying? I do enjoy to watch them weekly, and I think you're one of the rare persons bringing a very honest talk on the music industry. Another thing that I really do appreciate is your very humble attitude, which is priceless these days when it comes to internet content and especially YouTube videos. Thank you. I appreciate the gesture. Yeah, it's kind of tricky doing YouTube videos and being me. I'm not a YouTuber by birth. I'm not fame hungry. In fact, I'm going off on a tangent here as usual. Today I turned down a remix opportunity for multiple reasons. I won't mention the label, and this is not uncommon, so it doesn't matter which label it was really. But they opened the conversation saying roughly who they were and would I like a remix, as most people do. That's fine. Would I like to remix this track? I listened to the track, really liked the track, instantly had a couple of ideas of I could do this, I could do that, and sort of thinking to myself, yeah, sounds good. Responded with what sort of what sort of budget and timescale you're looking at, because those are the two most important things, let's be honest. And they said that there was no budget because they're only a small label, which is kind of to be expected. However, they've had all of these great artists work for them, and they listed a load of artists who have worked on big labels and whatever, which is great. And deadline was December 20th. So the first and foremost, I couldn't make that deadline anyway. But I thought it was interesting, and I'm sort of going on this tangent because I think it's kind of related with YouTubers and YouTube videos and all of that. When I was a young producer, I think we're all sort of fame hungry and we're desperate for that big hit or whatever. So I think we're willing to do a lot more. We're willing to bend over a lot more and give up and sacrifice a lot more. So had someone asked me 10 years ago to do that remix for no money and on a tight deadline, I'd have probably gone, yeah, definitely, because my name is then associated with these other artists, and that's great. Whereas actually in hindsight, that wouldn't have actually done me any favors. While it would have felt like it wouldn't have actually been a benefit. And especially in this day and age, especially when gigs don't even exist right now, what's the benefit for me? And I think that brings in a big question of the whole sort of working for free thing. And I think it's interesting how things might slowly be turning at the minute, with artists who have done a lot of work for free in the past, like remixes. And I've always said, only do a remix for free if you want to, because the moment you're doing it for free, it's a hobby. It's not a job. Whereas music is my job. It's my full-time job. So if I want to do a remix for free, then that's an additional on top of my job, which I'm happy to do. If a friend phoned me up today and said, can I get a remix? I'd be like, yeah, of course you can, because I do it as a favour to a friend. It's not a problem. But when a label is doing it, you got to question what's the benefit for me. I'm going off on a big tangent, but I think it's that's kind of my ethos when it comes to YouTube as well, is that as you can tell by the viewing figures on these videos and the numbers of comments, whatever, I'm not fame hungry. I'm not desperate for attention. So I try and keep these videos as real as possible and sort of giving out information like I just have, and I've just spewed out a load of information there on a remix that I probably didn't need to, but I think is an important point to make, which I think also ties in with being advice for people who maybe open to doing remixes. Never undersell yourself, because at the end of the day, whilst we all got into music for the love of it, and I 100% got into the music industry for the love of it, for the love of music, for the love of production, for the love of nerding out over computer equipment, at the end of the day, I still have to put food on a plate and a roof above my family's head, and that really has to happen whether I make music or not. So yeah, I think I feel like the industry as a whole is kind of reaching a bit of a turning point now, where for some people it'll be make or break time, basically. And I think that ties in with YouTube, bringing it back to your original. You haven't even got to a question yet, but I think that ties in with the whole YouTube thing as well. I hope we're turning at a point, and I hope we're at a turning point where people are now going to start making videos that have quality content that maybe have a longer shelf life than just a quick clickbaity thing. I don't know, who knows. Maybe I'm just too optimistic about these things. So I hope you'll decide to carry on. That said, I would perfectly understand if you decide to reduce the frequency at some point. Anyway, thank you for making those AMAs. And I also feel a bit guilty now, because I'm watching your videos every week and I'm not always getting involved and submitting questions that often. Don't feel guilty at all. At the end of the day, if you don't have a question, you don't have a question. So I'll try to do that more, and here is one for this week. Have you been thinking about the idea of an animation movie for Artificial Roots? Now, I don't know if it was you or someone mentioned this, that they could see my album being an animation, and my honest answer is no, I haven't given it any thought. Partly because I don't see it being an animation myself, and partly because I do see it. Obviously I wrote a story, I wrote a narrative that in my head was a film, a movie, but there were very specific colours and textures and grains to everything in my head, so an animation is not what that was. But even if it was to be made into film, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how that would even happen. So it's not something I've given any thought to. Is it something you could almost picture in your head in terms of characters, design, style? Oh, yeah, I've just answered that. Or not at all? And then would you be equally pleased to give visual artists 100% freedom to have their own take and visual interpretation of your music? Maybe some graphic design schools would be interested in work for this, as it is a scholar project and a promotional media for their students and school as well. I would be open to the idea of people like students using it as a body to put their creative stamp on, because that would be a educational, non-commercial use. I would be more than happy for that to happen, and I'd love to see it. I'd love to see the results. As a commercial actual film that got released, I haven't given it any thought, because I don't see it happening. I don't think it's a thing that would likely happen. So I'm not in that industry, and have never been in that industry. I have a few friends who have kind of dabbled with the industry, but I'm not well connected enough, I don't think, to be able to do that. And so I think for students it would be great, but yeah, I don't see it being anything other than that, really. Estlin, hi Dom, with Black Friday sales coming up, is there anything you're planning on getting? Also, in the topic of gear and plugins, what are your favourite plugins? Black Friday is kind of a weird one now, isn't it? Like, I feel like it wasn't, well, actually it probably was a while ago, it was probably 10 years ago now, but Black Friday used to be a really big deal at one point, especially for the UK. I mean, it is for America, always was for America, but the UK never really did Black Friday. I think it was Amazon who kind of brought Black Friday to the UK. But it's a very American tradition, if you can call it that. about the most capitalist tradition you could ever have, but that's America for you. Yeah, so it started off, to my understanding, it started off as like one day, and it was just that one day you'd have some mad crazy sales to the first come first served, and of course that caused riots and whatever else, and people, we've all seen the videos, haven't we? And then they kind of changed it to basically be all week, and now it's kind of all of November, and the deals have they're not really great deals anymore. So I bought the last time I did anything with Black Friday, I bought my TV, which I still own, probably about 5, 6, maybe even 7 years ago, because I wanted a 4K HDR big screen TV, and I got it for quite a bit less than half price, which was a bargain. And I was happy with that, but that was because I needed a new TV anyway. My previous one had literally broken the week before Black Friday. Aside from that, I've not really participated in Black Friday. Plugins are a weird one. So there are deals on for Black Friday, and if you're planning on getting any plugins, then yeah, wait for Black Friday deals to come through, because a saving is a saving. I always got annoyed with people like, I'll say it, Universal Audio. They annoyed me when I had my UAD2 card, and you get $5 off this $1,000 plugin. They just weren't deals. And then on the flip side of that, you got people like Plugin Alliance, which kind of answers your second question about what are my favourite plugins. Pretty much anything on Plugin Alliance at the minute. They're just on fire this year. And not only that, they are constantly doing great deals where you can, if you subscribe to their newsletter or whatever, you get like weekly deals offering you whatever new plugin for $25, $29, $39, whatever it is. And some of them are really worthwhile. In terms of favourite plugins, I don't really have favourite plugins, because I never know whether it should be a synth or a compressor or whatever, and I can't compare the two. But again, generally with Plugin Alliance and Brainworks in particular, which are one of the plugin developer companies within Plugin Alliance, even though they're both owned by the same person. And yeah, pretty much every Brainworks plugin there is just blows my mind every time. So yeah, I would seriously look at Brainworks plugins if you're looking for new and interesting things to use. Moving on, Maran Rados. Hey Dom, thanks for answering my question again. Pretty on point, and I can agree with everything you've said. It makes me sad to hear that there are less and less questions, and this whole AMA thing could come to an end. I hope that won't happen, because these videos are a goldmine of knowledge for any music producer, beginner or experienced. Thank you very much. I have a question on my mind, but I'm not proud of it, since I already asked similar questions a while back, back when I was the Mexican Dead Mouse. Anyways, as this year is coming to an end, and I looked at my releases this year, and I realised that I rushed everything too fast. To explain it better, my problem is that I'm often having writer's block, and it could last from 1 day to 1 or 2 months. And in that period, I don't feel like making music at all, because my head is just dry. I don't have any musical ideas. Even if I did get one, it wouldn't be it. It wouldn't be the idea I consider to actually finish. Also, another problem is that I listen to a lot of musical genres, for example, techno, deep house, dubstep, future bass, rap, etc. There is not really a one musical genre that I listen to, and I don't produce one genre of music, so I'm a bit worried about releasing my music, because one release could be the future bass and another release could be progressive house. Right, let's first of all cover your first question. So essentially what you're saying is, I keep getting writer's block. It could be from a day to 2 months. What do I do? I would say take a break. So I know that I've answered this before as well, and my best answer for this, there are lots of things you can do, but I seriously think my best answer is just take a break, step away. There's no need to, who's giving you deadlines, basically, although sometimes that can work, is to give yourself deadlines. But if it's not your best work, don't release it, because there's no need. There's no, we need to remember that music lasts forever. And pretty much everything on the internet lasts forever. So if you're going to be releasing a track, you need to be proud of it in 5-10 years time. Otherwise you're going to be constantly releasing new music and deleting old music and chasing it down to try and get rid of it and hide it. And I can assure you that's no fun. So, if you're getting writer's block, then that's okay. Just don't write for a while. For me, there's a couple of things of working around it. The one thing I've always said is, for me, watching a sci-fi film helps, because sci-fi films traditionally come with great music. For me, half the film is the music. So a great film comes with great music, and if you're listening to great music, you're going to get inspired. You're going to go, I've just had an idea, and or that's what happens to me. I'll watch a great film, for example, Interstellar or whatever, and I'll hear a key change or a chord change or a texture sound or something along those lines, and I'll just think to myself, ooh, I've got an idea, and I'll quickly rush into the studio and start playing, and then I'm inspired. Alternatively, playing with a new synth, something that maybe a synth you don't fully understand, maybe a synth that you need to learn more about, just sit and play with that synth. Don't try and write music with it. Don't try and write a track. Don't have any drums, don't have any whatever. Just literally play with the sounds and see where it takes you, and let it control itself, basically. I think that's probably one of the best ways of just finding some inspiration, a little nugget that so for me, from personal experience, I might play with a synth and start just flicking through the presets, and then maybe I'll hear a preset that I really like, and it may sound like a bass line, and I'll start playing bass line notation, or I might find a pad sound that sounds really nice, and I'll start playing just some chords with that. And it helps if you can play piano. I'm not a great pianist by any stretch, but I do like to sometimes just sit here and just just play a few chords or notes or whatever, and just kind of just let it happen naturally. But on the flip side of that, if you've been doing that for half an hour, 2 hours, and you get to a point where you're not moving forward, you like the sound, you like the chords, but nothing's really happening in your head, move on to something else. Try a different method, or just close it down for the day. You don't need to, there is no rush to get these things done. So that would be my first, or my main advice for your first question. Moving on to your second question, doing multiple genres. I kind of had this issue when I first started, because I liked everything from techno, trance, house, drum and bass, whatever, and I was always sort of really open-minded when it came to music genres. I was never, I mean, progressive house was kind of my favourite, but it wasn't by a long stretch. I just loved dance music. I loved anything electronic at the time. This is 25 years ago, or however long it was. So when it came to producing music, I kind of produced a lot of different ones, but I remember sending a few tracks to another producer, and he ended up turning around and go, why are you doing all these genres in one? What's the point? And he just sort of made me question it. And he said, basically, just pick a genre and stick to it. And that's what I did. And that, you know, that genre has slightly changed and evolved over time, because this was going back in the day where basically, I guess, what we would now call, well, it's gone full circle. So it's, again, back now to progressive or melodic techno or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I lose count of all these genres now. But essentially back then it was basically techno. And that's kind of where I felt I sat, or progressive house, I suppose, really. And yeah, and that was kind of what I stuck to. And then obviously, you know, electro became a thing, but again, it was quite a slow evolution into that. And now, like I say, it's gone full circle. It's gone into what was melodic techno and is now progressive house again. I think that's cool again, is it? I don't know, but the point is I think everyone is better off picking to a major subject. I'm not saying don't produce anything else. I'm just saying focus on one and master it. Just nail that one thing, whatever it is. And I guess in this day and age, you need to consider shelf life. So, you know, the last I heard, dubstep wasn't cool, or wasn't particularly cool, or was dying off, or whatever, or deep house or whatever. But I think they kind of go round and full circle. I'm probably saying that. I'm not in the dubstep scene, so I don't know. But it wouldn't surprise me if it's coming back again and back in full force. So I wouldn't worry too much about shelf life, but honestly, I would just pick something that you think, you know, again, in 5 years' time, you want to be able to look back at your work and go, I'm proud of that. So if you're just cashing in on trends, then you're probably not going to be proud of that. It's not going to be your best work, because you're going to look back at it in 5 years' time and go, I was just cashing in on that trend and I didn't get the cash. It's probably for 99% of people. So in which case, you just want to be in a position where you can look back and go, yeah, that was actually really cool. That was different. That was whatever, something you're proud of. So yeah, I would say, you know, by all means, produce different and learn how to produce different genres. I do. I've made loads of drum and bass records. I've made a few hip hop records. I've made some dubstep. I've made all sorts. 99.9% of it has never been released and never will be, because I'm not in that area. I'm not in the market for dubstep or drum and bass or whatever. I don't know the ins and outs of what's cool and what's not cool for that. So yeah, like I say, by all means, produce whatever you want. But if you're looking to make a name for yourself, then you need to try and sort of pick one sort of theme, I suppose, and stick to it. Because, you know, if Noisia released a couple of house records now in a row, I think a lot of their drum and bass fans would turn around and go, meh, screw Noisia, and walk away. I hate to say that. There'd probably be amazing house records as well, but that doesn't mean that everybody else is going to follow suit. So yeah, I don't feel like I found my sound and my genre that I'm most comfortable with making, because every time I open up Ableton, I always end up creating something random. Well, that's fine, but just carry on and you'll find something eventually. Just don't worry about, you know, where it has to go. It doesn't have to go anywhere. You know, at the end of the day, first and foremost, music is art, and art can be anything you want it to be. Now to put all this pile of text into question, what is your advice on getting your sound and finding your music genre, and also advice and tips on getting rid of writer's block? There we go. I think I've covered that. Did you have a similar experience? If yes, could you talk about it for a bit, or maybe you know someone who was in the same situation? I know this is a tough question to answer, since there's more than one thing to talk about, but I hope the answer will help not only me but other people. Thank you. Have a great week. You too, Stock. High five. There we go. So yeah, I think I've answered that. Oh, and you've added to your comment, since I forgot, I've seen videos where people would say, oh, maybe this whole music thing isn't for you, blah, blah, blah. And yes, I thought about it multiple times, and I tried quitting music 1 or 2 times. I can't really remember. But the thing is, something was always bothering me about that decision when I made it. It was like an ache, and it bothered me. I felt bad about quitting music, and something was pulling me back into it, and I started to make music again, and I pushed harder and was more persistent. You see, I'm naturally kind of lazy person when it comes to learning new skills. For example, one period of time I wanted to learn Cinema 4D and Adobe's Photoshop, and I tried it and simply quit. But I didn't feel bad about that. Okay, so so there's a difference between and the camera ran out. So there's a difference between quitting making music there's a difference between searching for a music career and making music because you enjoy making music. And I'm not suggesting that you quit looking for a music career, because I don't know your music. Yeah, for all I know, you could be an absolute genius, gifted producer. I don't know your music, so I can't comment on that. But there's nothing wrong with, if your music turned out to be terrible or whatever, there's nothing wrong with you enjoying producing music and not releasing it or whatever. I feel like there are so many producers out there now who can't not release music, and I just think, well, I mean, since I wrote my album, and when did I write my album? That was like a year ago nearly. In fact, it probably was a year ago I'd finished my album. Since I've finished my album, outside of a few very specific projects that I've had that are paid commissions and things like that, for myself, for my own, under my own name, I don't think I've written a single track. The last couple of weeks I've started toying with penning some stuff down, and I've laid some stuff down today, funnily enough, in terms of new music, but really I'm not desperate to release stuff constantly. I don't see the need to have this constant output of music being released publicly. I've written tracks in the last year that I never really bothered finishing, and I'm okay with that. They're been and gone. They're put to the side. And I think, I've always sort of thought, well, if I quit the music industry, or if I won the lottery or whatever today, I would still carry on writing music, and I'd still carry on maybe releasing the odd one, but I still wouldn't feel any pressure to do that. And if I quit the music industry and I got myself a job working in a shop or whatever, I think I would still probably every now and then write some music. So I don't think, it doesn't have to be everything or nothing. And I think that's quite important, that there's a whole load of stuff in between. So I don't if you keep coming back, don't worry about quitting. You don't need to quit. It's hopefully not an addiction that's causing you and your loved ones any harm. So make music that you like. And I think that's important as well for anyone watching. That's the best way of finding your sound is make music that you like, and you'll find it in the end. There we go. Moving on. Mitch Brown. Hey Dom, don't knock garbage. I quite liked Stupid Girl back in the day. I really didn't like that song. Capital Sin. Hi Dom, first I wanted to say thank you for taking time to make these videos. I really hope you continue to make them. I'm looking forward to your Sonic Academy videos as well. I have watched a few of those already and love them. I was very close to giving up on music production, and thanks to the knowledge I got from them, I was able to improve my production to the point Sorry about that, got interrupted. I was very close to giving up on music production, and thanks to the knowledge I got from them, I was able to improve my production to the point where I'm very proud of what I've been able to make at the moment. So thank you again. You're welcome. As for my question, how should one approach the process of getting feedback on a track? I find myself sending my tracks to friends, and overall the feedback is positive, which is encouraging, but not the kind of feedback I'm looking for. I would love to get feedback on things like arrangement, mix quality, etc. Thank you again. So I would say I'm on a website called audiu.net, audiu.net. I'm one of the pros on that website. You don't have to pick me, pick anyone you want. But I think the idea is you upload a track, you pay whatever they put their price as, and there are some people who are literally just a few dollars. There are some people who are hundreds and hundreds of dollars. I'm not the cheapest, I'm not the most expensive, but I'm there. So I think that I really love the way that website works as well, because it's kind of structured feedback basically. So you have sort of comment boxes on very specific things. You can also leave a note when you upload your track and say, look, I really want specific feedback in the mixdown area because that's what I'm struggling with, or I want feedback on my sound design or whatever. And if you are uploading a track to me, just let me know. Be as detailed as you can in that info message. The more you can sort of tell me what you're looking for, the more I can help. But yeah, generally speaking, I will always give feedback on, you've got stuff like your first impressions and whatever, but I'll always sort of give feedback on things like the arrangement, the sound design or sound choices and how they work or don't work with each other, the mix down quality and maybe what could be improved there. So it can be anything from, this snare drum needs turning down 3 dB, or you need to put a compressor on this, or maybe you need to take a compressor off this, or you need to EQ this, that and the other, to have you thought about the arrangement structure being this format, or maybe I don't like the way this sound comes in from nowhere or whatever. So it can be quite specific feedback, which I wish existed when I first started producing, I can tell you that. So yeah, I would highly recommend my friends at audiu.net to get feedback on music. I can see Techlight's replied as well, don't want to interfere with Dom's answers, but since you mentioned Sonic Academy, check out their track feedback topic on their forums. It's mainly me trying to provide feedback to people. I'm not a pro, just using my ears and goodwill and based on my own knowledge. So there we go, do that as well. I think, didn't Sonic Academy do some live video? It might have been live, not sure. So I'm sure they did some videos on like listening to everyone's submissions or something. I don't know if that was like a regular feature. I could have just made it up, I don't know. But if you're already a Sonic Academy member, then check that out just in case. But yeah, like I say, I'm a big fan of Audio, and when they first approached me years and years ago to get involved, I was all over that idea because I felt like it was a great way of really sort of just getting direct one-to-one feedback, which is really what I think most people need these days. So there we go. And lastly, FanFan87, salut Dom, stock, high five. If you want to make AMAs 2 times a month in order to wait and having more questions, I'm 100% okay too. Don't force yourself. Thanks for your answer about labels and money. I'll look forward to these propositions twice now before accepting a... I will look at these propositions twice now before accepting a fraud. I can't remember what I said, but yeah, hopefully it helps. Edit, my questions, god damn it. We'll make the Big Sur update. Will I make the big update? Will you make the Big Sur update on your Mac? I saw this OS won't allow users anymore to be able to install previous OSs like Sierra or Catalina. So if your DAW doesn't work, you're basically owned. I see many comments this week. Awesome. Cheers. Big Sur, I've always sort of said to people, if you're going to update your OS, and this is whether it's Windows or Mac or whatever, you're kind of always best to just stay behind the curve with stuff like that. Don't try and be a trendsetter, because it's never going to do you any favors. So for me personally, as a professional musician, all of these things are critical for me. I'm aware that Bitwig apparently is showing no issues so far, but they're not saying it's 100% compatible, just in case. But apparently everything seems to work just fine. I think usually once the big boys like Native Instruments and Waves and Plugin Alliance have announced they're 100% compatible, and I have no doubt about that. Native Instruments, I don't know if they've even said anything, have they? Or Waves, I've not looked either, so that could be me. But yeah, for those two, I think they're kind of the big boys, aren't they? In the plugins world. I think generally once they say everything's safe and your workstation says everything's safe, then you're really down to just a few little sort of stragglers. I know when I updated Catalina for the long-term viewers of this channel, you'll remember when I got this iMac, it came with Catalina on top, so I kind of made the decision, right, screw it, I'm just going to go on to Catalina and start everything from fresh and do a fresh install. I think you couldn't roll back behind Catalina with that either, but I could be wrong. But Catalina was brand new, and I know I had quite a few issues with some software. What was there? Anything by Steinberg, I ended up binning and telling them to chuck it because they wanted money to upgrade. Waves wanted money to upgrade as well. Then there were companies who I will definitely give a shout out to and loyalty to, people like Ozone, who gave me free upgrades and said, here you go, and they really helped me get everything installed. So big shout out to Ozone, or Isotope I should say, because it was Ozone and RX and one of their others that I use every now and then. Yeah, so I think, there were a couple of things that I lost when I moved to Catalina, but they weren't huge detrimental issues, and I think it's probably going to be the same. I think if you give Big Sur maybe probably a couple of months, and I think 90% of your stuff will be compatible. And I always kind of run on the assumption that 10% of stuff is usually the stuff that, if you hadn't already checked it before making the move, then it probably wasn't that important in the first place. That's kind of my view of how it works. Similarly, when I ported to Catalina, there are a few that I've since gone, oh damn, that didn't work or whatever, and then I've gone, but was it that important? Probably not. So you just move on, and there's always an alternative to everything. So yeah, there we go. So will I be making the big update? No, not right now, and probably not this year. In fact, definitely not this year. We're at the end of November already. But I always tell people, don't bother updating. What do you need the update for? You don't need it. I used to have a MacBook laptop that I would always sort of I'd run the update on that, and then try and open some music projects and see how many errors I was getting. But nowadays I don't even bother with that. I'll just give it a few months and let everyone else have the problems. Let them beta test for me, because I don't need to be on some wonky OS that doesn't run properly. There's just no need. That I don't think there's any features on Big Sur that has blown my mind. There's lots of great features, but there's none that have gone, I need this right now. So yeah, it's just not really of any interest to me at this point, and nor should it be for anyone who has critical work on their computer, really. So that is it, my friends. Thank you very much. There's been quite a few questions this week, and I've definitely ranted a lot more than usual this week as well. Please do keep them coming, because we want to keep this AMA going, and to prove you've made it this far into the video, comment the word urban. While I'm reading this, I'm also wondering, What have I been doing that has made this a recommended video? Inside the mind of a master procrastinator, Tim Urban. So comment the word urban and you'll get a high five next week. If I get round to making the video, who knows, I could be procrastinating. I could be a master procrastinator by then, thanks to Tim Urban. I'll see you next week. Cheers.